Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 2 of season 3, or episode 28 of Natsume's Book of Friends, Natsume Yujin-Chou, and I'm here to talk with you first of all about volume 4 of the manga in my ongoing journey that's self-titled Catching Up with However They Organized the Anime for season 2. So, like I talked about last week, volumes 3 through 6 cover the contents, or so I've been told, of season 2 of the anime, but they are not doing things in order at all. So if you haven't got a chance to look at the manga and you want to know just what you're missing out on, I'm here to give you some details before we start this episode. So the only thing I want to talk about in terms of comments is that Hazy Days, back during episodes 6 and 7 of season 2, had noted this really cool comment. I want to read it kind of verbatim to you all. You can go check it out on YouTube for episodes 6 and 7 for season 2. But they said basically they really liked how this episode developed Natsume's relationship with loneliness. That a few episodes prior, he had mentioned he was never lonely as a child, just alone. And here he says in the episodes that he thinks that the feeling of losing his sight during the whole debacle with episodes 6 and 7 could be tied to loneliness because he's never experienced it in this form before. The implication that Hazy Days believes the narrative is going for is that in order to really be lonely, you have to have experienced real companionship for comparison. They say that they don't know if they fully buy into that, but they agree that it's definitely a form of grief and this emptiness versus fullness, that to never have something in vague terms is to miss something. So I thought that was very true. I definitely get a sense of the conversation of what defines loneliness versus being alone. I personally do agree with the series that I think to be lonely means that you either wanted or have experienced being with someone else and then that's taken away. And it doesn't have to be romantic. It can be a family member, it can be a friend, it can be a coworker, it can be anything. And to not have them there is kind of a form of loneliness. So I get that. So I thought that was really good to point out. But I want to talk with y'all about the manga because I read today volume 4. Beautiful cover. I really love the kimono with all the flowers on it. I like that Madara is like with his little tongue out and everything. Super, super cute. But to basically talk what the contents of this volume is, it does cover 3 episodes from season 2, along with some extra stuff that ties back to season 1. I'm seeing a pattern. I was like, oh, okay. So first of all, when I saw this cover page that's Reiko with the lantern and the shadowy hand that's super creepy there, I thought we were going to get into the contents of the episode where Reiko helps out the one yokai. We don't get into that yet, so that's maybe just foreshadowing on the mangaka's part that they're like, we're going to get to it, don't worry, but here's a little foreshadowing. I thought that was an interesting choice. So the first chapter of volume 4 deals with season 2, episode 2, which is the Snow Bunny, the cutest yokai possible with Gin. And I just want to share some screenshots with you, some panels. Madara, the way that the mangaka draws Madara is really funny. They're really kind of just not creepy, but just off-putting enough that you're like, But I really like the way that Madara's drawn there. And then y'all, the Snow Bunny. I can't. It's too cute. It's too cute. It's like the chick. It's like the chick from episode 4. I cannot. Nope, can't do it. It's too adorable. And then I just love when it gets serious and it's like, I'm going to curse your family for 3 generations. I'll swear it with my own hands. Like when it gets angry and has like the dark chi coming off of it, it's just so cute. It reminds me so much of the Moki from Toilet Bound Hanako-kun. It's too much. I love it so much. It's so good. But anyway, so basically that chapter is about the same as the episode in itself. I do really like the moment where the yokai is telling Natsume, he's like, you could put my name in the book of friends. And Natsume is like, he's like, even if I turn irreversibly evil, I want you to use it to stop me. And he's like, no, he's like, I can't do that. And I like that Natsume says to hold your name means to be controlling your life. He's like, I don't want that responsibility and to subject you to that. And then Gin is like, well, if worse comes to worse, burn the paper with my name. And I like that Natsume's like, I'm not going to do that. But you see Madara in the corner there just being like, what are you going to do, Natsume? You want to be this middle ground between yokai and humans. What if the yokai ask you to do something drastic like that? Are you going to do it? And so Natsume has found himself in season 2 kind of being on the extremes of whatever, Notori wants him to do versus what the yokai want him to do. And he just kind of wants to float there in the middle. And Madara kind of has this look on his face in these chapters like, it's not always going to be where you can float around without any hurdles. So I really liked that. But then I love this panel here where he says, Gin, you might not like people, but I still like you. And I was like, oh, it's so cute. And even though I don't know her, I like Sui and how she wanted to wish upon a rainbow. And then it shows Gin like crying until he goes back into being a snow bunny. That was so cute. That tears my heart up. I love how sweet and pure Natsume is when it comes to how he feels about the yokai and not wanting to hate them. So then we have episode 3 of season 2. So it does follow that chronological order. I want to make note, this is the one where Notori and Natsume go to the hot spring, and there were those little tiny yokai that were carrying the procession with the god's head on their shoulders as they were walking by. Here is the mangaka's version of the god's head. It's a lot less creepy than how it was in the anime. I'm just saying, I looked at that and went, oh, that's not so bad. The anime makes it frightful. So we have Notori and him meeting up with Natsume and inviting him to the hot spring. I will always love that every time the mangaka draws Notori, he has to like take off his glasses and be like, hello, ladies. And they're all squealing, and Natsume and Madara just like, like, we don't really, like, how dare you, sir? Like, nice, good for you, good for you. I also really like in this panel when they're in the cafe and Madara's like, do you want me to eat him? He seems shady. And Natsume's like, no. He does ask, the way it's translated in the English version, Natsume does ask Notori if he has any guy friends. And Notori's like, no, you're the only one who can see the same things I do. So I feel like, again, reiterating how Natsume, with his relationship with Notori is a nice kind of tie into Reiko, because Notori doesn't seem to have a good relationship with humans or yokai. He kind of doesn't like either, but he's putting on a facade in front of the humans so they can get what he wants and have his freedom. I think that's interesting. I like that. So we have some notes from the mangaka. They say here, hello, I'm Midori Kawa. This is my 12th ever graphic novel. I would like to thank the readers who are picking this up for the first time, as well as those who've been with me from the beginning. I'm happy to say that with Natsume's Book of Friends, I've achieved my goal of having a series longer than 3 volumes. The goal seems so far off that I coordinated my short story collections in one color, just in case. I aspired to show my determination to have something that kept going for more than 3 volumes. Even if they were short story collections, Natsume is kind of like a collection of short stories too, but I'm so glad that I was able to reach another one of my goals with the help of my fans. I'd like to slowly but surely keep working to make more mini stories. Thank you so much. And I know that this series has been going on for a long time, because this was like back in 2008 and it's been going on for like another 15 years. So there's a lot more volumes, I'm sure, but it's so crazy that the mangaka's original goal was, I just want to make it to like 3 volumes, and now it's like, what, 30? So I think that's so interesting. So then we have the next part, interviews. Thanks to this series, I've been invited to do things I've never experienced before, like illustrating the cover of a magazine and an autograph session. So there are more things that I get giddy and excited about. Now I've been asked to do an interview for a magazine called S Quarterly. I saw that they crafted the questions after a careful reading of Natsume. I never imagined it would feel so delightful to have questions asked about my work. So I was entranced with joy when I read the instructions, please handwrite your answers if possible. I wondered if that was to prevent someone else answering in my place, and I was fascinated by the professionalism. I was so stupid. So I wrote out the answers with great enthusiasm. And they're going to continue on, but I really like this pointed out that Natsume, Notori asks him how things are going at home, and he's like, oh, they're great. I like the Fujiwaras. And Natsume says, they're very nice to me. He goes, that's good. If you ever get tired of living a lie, you can come to my place. And I was like, oh. I mean, I'm not saying that Notori would want to start anything with Natsume. I'm not saying that, but just the concept of what if something later on, we got a 7-season series, y'all. What if something happens and he has to stay at Notori's? I'm just saying, I thought that was interesting. So then Natsume ponders in that episode again, like, am I living a lie? He's like, I've been called a liar my whole life, and he cries from it in his sleep, but he's like, I don't feel like I'm living a lie. But in the same vein, in that same chapter, he kind of comes to terms with like, I am lying to the Fujiwaras. I'm not being entirely truthful. I don't know what to do about that. So, and he's like, was it a scary dream? He's like, how embarrassing to cry over a dream. So we have the second part here, interviews part 2. I sent in my answers with a couple of rough draft samples, and a few weeks later they faxed me their beautifully composed pages. I was shaking with joy until I noticed that they printed my handwriting as is. Thinking back, it should have been obvious. I became painfully aware of how someone who's walking on cloud 9 could be so oblivious. I was horrified that I didn't use my best handwriting, but looking at the cute colors and the precise editing, the pleasantness of looking at the pages made me feel happy again. It would make me happy if you would check it out. It's now one of my cherished treasures. Yeah, I have terrible handwriting because I've typed so long that my handwriting is just meh. So I wouldn't even, I would have to like spend hours crafting the handwriting on those answers to make them look legible, especially if I knew people were going to publish it. So, but yeah. And so I really like this page here where Notori, he's like, I've gotten used to tricking people. You were having so much fun. I should have explained it to you. I'm really sorry. And I like that Notori, you know, he apologized to Natsume for keeping him in the dark, but then Natsume's like, when did I get accustomed to lying so much? He's like, I lie to the Fujiwaras all the time. And I lie to my classmates. He's like, because I don't want to be singled out and I don't want to be bullied and I don't want to be ostracized. So he's like, I don't tell the truth. And Notori's kind of become the same way. So I thought that was a really good moment where Natsume's like, I am lying all the time and I need to do something about it. So then, because we've already had season 2, episode 4 in volume 3, we don't go to 5 or 6 or 7 with Taki. Instead, we jump straight to episode 9 of season 2, right? Why would we want to go back? So we jump straight to the episode where we have the painting, right? With the flowers. And I will say, the manga makes this look really creepy. I really like the shadows and how effective they are of drawing the hand like leaning down from the trees. In this case, the attic. I thought that was really effective. I like how that was done. So then we have part 4 here, the yokai in the jar. This yokai came about because I wanted to do a story where you glance over into the corner of a room and something's dangling from the ceiling. A dangling head would have been scarier, but I chose a dangling body. I thought that was creepy enough. In which case, I had to ask myself, where is its head? But this kind of story is difficult, since the excitement fades once the head is eventually revealed. And male characters. Natsume and Sensei are both male, so I get nervous when the guest characters are also male, because they make the page stuffy. I wonder how other people get around these problems. I need to study more. I feel like I stumble a lot in unexpected ways. And she's like, it's a sausage fest in this manga. What are we going to do about it? Also, there are some shots of Natsume hanging out with Kishimoto and the other one, the 2 guy classmates. Sasada is nowhere to be found. So I'm pretty sure the anime is only keeping her there because they don't want to explain her moving away. And maybe the anime doesn't want it becoming a sausage fest either, so they just keep her around. But in the manga, she is nowhere to be seen. So I feel like it's canon at this point that she's just anime only. So then Tokyo. I live in the provinces and I hardly ever get to meet the editorial staff. So when I visit Tokyo, I take the opportunity to talk to them. Since I love to create manga, sometimes I ask the most straightforward questions, bordering on impolite, but often they just answer just as passionately, inspiring me to a surprising extent. I work really hard with my editor, agonizing over everything to get the privilege to submit my work. When I discovered that they put just as much care into the production side of things, details I'd never even realized, it renewed my will to work harder. Yeah, when you figure out everybody else is just as passionate as you, it does kind of like fuel that, right? So then, part 6 here, Natsume's clothes. Natsume mainly wears his school uniform and collared shirts in the summer, but actually he likes street punk clothes. We're starting to see glimpses of Aunt Toko spoiling him by buying him lots of new tracksuits. I tend to avoid clothes with patterns since I often can't get the page to look right. I liked to have my characters wear the same kind of clothes all the time, but these days, with the advice of my assistants, I'm beginning to have more fun getting them to wear different kinds of screen tones. A boy projects a cool image of himself, yet wears a cutely patterned scarf. I've discovered for the first time how fun it is to imagine these aspects. Yeah, I love that. I love that it's like, what do I want to do with his clothes? I feel like in anime, they do a really good job of making Natsume's fashion seem very consistent, but also varied. So it never feels like the same. Or when he does wear the same clothes over the course of episodes, it feels like that's just his wardrobe. It's really good. So after episode 9's chapter, there are 3 side stories. They're very short, but 2 of them tie back to season 1, just like volume 3 did. And the more I get into these, more I'm like, there were only 2 volumes with season 1's anime. Clearly, not all the content got discussed. And I was like, how did I miss this? But there's a short story that's literally Natsume meeting the little fox, which was episode 7 of season 1. That story is in volume 4, which is interesting. It's Natsume's observation log part 1, where we see him like go and save the little fox. And at first I was like, is this a new story with the little fox? No, it's the same one as before. I was like, how did I miss this? So part 7 of the editor's notes is enclosures. There was another big development for me and Natsume. It was something I assumed would never happen and made me fall over with joy. The magazine La La had an amazing concept of sometimes including a drama CD as a bonus, and they made one for Natsume too. I'm sure some of the readers also fell over with surprise. I loved anime when I was little, but since I live in provinces, I don't get as much anime on TV these days as they do in Tokyo. I was a willing fan, but was forced into ignorance about my recent trends, and I worried about what should I do. So then they follow up by saying, working with the general nuances, I felt opinions from others and the wonderful voices of candidates the CD production company offered. We were able to smoothly decide the direction we wanted to take. I was afraid there might be discrepancies from what the readers had imagined, but I was so happy to be involved in a different form of Natsume. It'll be included in the October issue of La La, on sale in August 2007. So please check it out if you're interested. It turned out to be a wonderful incarnation of the swallow underwater. Thanks to the voice actors and the staff. Thanks to everyone for their support. So in the second short story, it's more of an original story where Natsume is by himself as a kid, which was really, really interesting. And a lot of people note how he's creepy and they don't like Natsume. He gets attention by saying he sees ghosts, is what they say. And the foster parents don't want him, so he keeps changing schools. Which is really sad because Natsume, he kind of gets to the point where all of the lying started because he didn't want to be made fun of anymore or to be ridiculed. So he just kind of started lying and saying he wasn't seeing the yokai, even though he was. And it's so sad because he clearly is able to see them. So we have this one yokai that keeps trying to befriend Natsume. And he keeps trying to scare him. And it's just like, boo! And Natsume's like, why do you keep picking on me? Are you bored? And the yokai is like, oh, you can see me. And so we were going the same way. And Natsume's like, I don't care about you at all. So at first, Natsume doesn't like the yokai at all. He doesn't know why they're chasing him. And they're kind of the reason why he's ridiculed. So this one yokai keeps following him around. And the sad thing is, right as Natsume finds out that he's about to be shipped off with another set of foster parents, and he just starts to make a friend with this one guy that like compliments his jacket, the yokai steps out and scares him, and he knocks the guy over into a mud puddle, and the kid gets mad at him and basically shoves him away and gets away from Natsume. So the yokai tries to apologize, but at this point, Natsume tells him to shut up and go away and says that he hates all of the yokai. And I was like, damn. Seeing Natsume like lash out as a little kid is something we don't normally get to see. It makes me think of Reiko and Notori. But the original short story ends, well, it's about ends. It gets to where the yokai feels sad for what he did and he wants to apologize to Natsume. But he's like, if I just show up, Natsume's going to run away. He won't want to talk to me. He also notes that Natsume stops going on the same street to school because he doesn't want to get made fun of, which is super sad. He's like, he takes the long way to school, which is really sad, like I said. So he becomes this cat, which I thought was interesting because then we see, Nyanko sensei later on in the manga, but this yokai becomes this cat and goes to talk to Natsume. Natsume cannot tell that the yokai has become a cat. And he's like, oh, come here, kitty. And then the yokai notices that Natsume smiles and he has the ability to be happy. And Natsume is like, he's like, you're lucky. I wish I could live on my own. I want to be able to live by myself. Just as the yokai is like, I wish I could become a real cat and stay by his side. Which is really super sad, right? He feels bad for Natsume, and it's so interesting seeing Natsume say he wants to live alone, and then we see where he's at now. So the yokai laments, and then he says a few days later he was taken off to a far-off town by a woman with red lips and nails and a man with shifty eyes. Years passed, and I thought of him sometimes. He had a kind smile and a sad wish. Is he still smiling? And then we see that Natsume and Madara find the yokai. And they're like, oh, it's been a while. I was on an errand. I was nearby on an errand. We had an awkward goodbye last time, so I was worried. Back then, I could only lash out towards others. But now I think I can understand your kindness. And to see how much Natsume has grown and that he went back to that yokai and like apologized to him is so sweet. And he's like, you've met someone nice. And that's why you can smile so. So the yokai's like, you've met some people that are nice to you, and that's why you're happy. It's that opposite of loneliness, like what Hazy Days was talking about in their comment. And he's like, my name is Takashi Natsume. Will you tell me your name? And I love that because he's not writing it down the book. He just wants to know his name because why not? So then the last original story is actually from episode 11 of season 1 of Nyanko's Book of Boredom. Like, it's literally him going off and like talking about how I'm stuck with this brat Natsume and blah, 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 blah. But then he meets the little girl and the little girl and him form the friendship. It's literally from that episode. Wild. But I do like this page of Madara at the end where he's like, humans are so frail. They say they're lonely and they make us stay. Why do they do this to me? It's not fair. This girl and Natsume. That Madara wants to stick around, right? Right? So yeah. So the afterword is talking about chapter 13 is melting in the spring. I was fortunate enough that they published this as a separate booklet insert in the magazine. When I took the meticulously crafted booklet in my hands, I was moved. Since it was an insert, I kept in mind that people may be reading it for the first time. I had a really hard time with it, and at first the yokai had possessed some other object, but it didn't have a good chemistry with Natsume. When I switched it to a snow bunny, it worked. I gave him rabbit ears because I wanted to include a scene where he was standing behind a paper screen. The ears looked like they were ogre horns. But I was so busy editing it down that I forgot to reinsert that scene. I had fun drawing roly-poly things like Sensei and the snow bunny. Aw, that's super cute. Chapter 14 is Natsume goes to the hot spring. Natsume went on his first overnight trip. I wanted to try all sorts of things since Notori was making a repeat appearance, but then I was given the chance to have Natsume be the first manga in that month's issue. Since it's an important slot, I aimed for a story suitable for a first-time reader. The two of them have gotten so used to lying with their smiles on their faces, but they're finally realizing there's something inherently wrong with that. Notori is good at giving advice, but not comfort. At first, I used to feel oddly sad when I was drawing stories about Natsume and Nyanko-sensei, but these days I feel that way with Natsume and Notori. Maybe that means they're starting to understand each other. Yeah, I love that. Yes, that's such a good way to describe their relationship. And the last one I have is chapter 15, The Man Among the Cherry Blossoms. There were a bunch of soft stories in a row, so I wanted something with a little sting. I considered a story about a tree growing out of Natsume, but then it looked unexpectedly painful, so I changed it to blooming flowers. Oh my god, that is terrifying. And then I was actually asked to do the magazine cover. I was super elated, but also scared that I wasn't worthy. So I decided on a story that celebrated with flowers would be appropriate. I love stereotypical creepy stories like strange shadowy figures inside paintings. Then the special episode 1. Working on a 16-page story was challenging and exciting in a different way, and I had fun. I was so happy I could draw Natsume from someone else's perspective. He should always be slightly prickly. Special episode 2. With only 16 pages to work with, I was worried that my layout would be full of small panels, so I chose to draw kids. I feel that Natsume had a different coping mechanism when he was little. Definitely. And then special episode 3. I was nervous about doing an 8-page story. All the short episodes have a kid theme. It was fun to draw a troubling day for Nyanko-sensei. I was finally able to pass the 3-volume threshold with Natsume, thanks to my determined and patient editors and readers. I remember how I cried from joy when my editor told me volume 1 would get my first belly band around the dust jacket. I'll take the greatest care to make an interesting manga. Please continue to support it. Nice! So, yeah, I know I've talked for 25 minutes. I feel like these first 4 episodes of season 3 are going to be really long because there's a lot of manga to talk about. And I'm like, there's just so much to talk about. And I'm glad I didn't try to, like, read all these volumes at once. Would have been too much. Would have been too much. So, anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed that recap of volume 4, just so y'all know. But I'm super excited to dive in and see episode 2 of season 3. Last episode was very much like a recap and getting back into the swing of things. But y'all, we have 1080p. We're gonna be great, right? Of course. So we're not gonna waste any more time. We're gonna dive right in to episode 3 or episode 2 of Natsume's Book of Friends season 3, and we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Yeah! All right. I originally thought when I started season 3, I'm like, I'll just read volumes 3 through 6 and do a big old recap at the start of season 3. And I was like, I got through volume 3 and was like, this is going to take too long. So I was like, we'll just go ahead and just do 1 volume at a time, these first 4 episodes. Yeah. I really am kind of impressed that this OP is like, we're going to give away nothing to you. But we're going to recap season 2, just so you know. Look, there's Sasada, who's been inserted into the anime. Madara's little kicking feet, those are super cute. Toko's like, get off the roof! Oh my god. Oh my god. It's like, Natsume's about to die. Oh, I like Natsume's shirt with the clouds on it. Look at this. I like this fashion. I want that. Of course, that's what he got. Yes. Sake, oh my god, they're having a party. Hey, it's the ones from the last episode. Isn't it? A white pig! And the pig cat! Oh my god. Uh-huh. No. Not for you! Oh my god. Oh. Well, that's a crazy conclusion to immediately come to. Yeah, and it's Tanuma's dad. Uh-oh. UKIHARA village. Ooh. My dear friend. Oh my god. Nishimura, there we go. Oh, nothing. Just, I'm going to make you wonder about it all day long. And he was going to ask him about his dad, yeah. Madara's like, how dare you? Madara's like, it's easy. True. Ah, how do you bring it up? I see. He's like, I wouldn't know about those formalities. Ah, so he's like, I didn't even know how to ask about my own family, much less this situation. Ooh, all the fish from the pond. Oh, shit. Oh, that would be terrifying. Nope. Uh-oh. Why? I just walk around it. Sorry, you seem creepy. I don't want trouble. I gotta go to school. Let's talk later. That's so creepy. I would be so freaked out the entire day. Oh, come on. Ah. Oh, for a month. Well, you're quite used to it. Glad he didn't die, yeah. Aw. Wow. He's like, well, there was this monster in my pond. I don't know why you wouldn't tell Natsume, because he can see it. Oh, I like that shot. That's really good. You again. Oh, just a ghost, yeah. I thought he was trying to avoid her. Oh. Was she just trying to get the Book of Friends and steal it? I like Tanuma's book matches his shirt. Well, that's a bit creepy and huge. Oh, dude. Oh no. I would tell Natsume. What? With the lollipop! The little tiny... Oh no, who's he? Do you remember that one yokai? You know, the one that's really bad? Oh my god. Oh no. I like this Pikmin that's behind them. Oh my god. Madara, you're being very lewd with that sucker. You need to stop that. It's that one, right? Sorry about that. Oh, its eyes aren't closed. They're just black. Oh, it wants the name for their brother. Oh. Ah. He's a different sucker. It's base yellow now. This voice sounds super familiar. Her voice does. Uh-huh. Ah, of course. And the two of them. Oh. And we're trapped there. Uh-oh. Oh no. Uh-oh. And he's like been all transformed by it. Uh-huh. And that part of the shadow was his hat. Oh my god. Okay, so she just needs to get her brother back. Well, not him per se. Wow, I like this like theme of family that's throughout this. It's really well done. That seems a bit creepy. Oh shit, why? No! Oh! Oh, Mizuzu! Nice! I just happened to be in the area. That fat cat wasn't around. Oh. Really? What? How dare you accuse me? Well... Oh my god! I'm just playing with it. Uh-oh. Go save your boyfriend! Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god! No! No! He has the blue shirt. Natsume has the red shirt. It's perfect. Oh my god. No! Do not get its attention! Oh my god! No! No! No, 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 no! Don't get hit by a knife! I thought he was gonna throw that knife at him. Oh. Rust, interesting. It's like Tanuma. Ooh. Creepy. What does that say? Oh no. He's got a headache because the yokai's affecting him. Oh no. He could be affected by the yokai. Yes. Whip! Madara! Uh-oh. Oh my gosh, I love the sunset and all this. And there's the map. Oh. Oh, he's trying to find his way back to where the entrance was. Uh-huh. Oh! Okay. Oh no. So he probably went home to check. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh! Oh my god, just toss him aside! It's like a funky smell. Yeah! It's like a funky smell. It's gonna make him feel bad. Oh my gosh. With the bells. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's so crazy. Oh. Oh, damn. Oh no, he's been like self-hurting. Oh. What? What? But then who's the other one? But then who's the other spirit? Oh my god. Yeah. Then who was the other spirit? Huh. Hmm. And that's why. Okay. But then who was the other yokai? Oh. Yeah. Oh! So it was a different yokai that was banished. Okay. Oh! That makes more sense. Damn. Well, that's a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. Ah. Okay. Uh-huh. So now what? Oh! Oh, shit! bitch! What? No! Oh my god. Oh my god! Oh shit! Oh my god. Oh, the pond. So trippy. Oh my god! Oh. Oh. Hmm. 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 Oh. Oh. Mm. Uh. 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 What a weirdo. Uh. Oh my gosh. Hmm. And she kept him going by writing the name. Oh. Oh. No. I'm good, but interesting that Reiko just kind of was like, "Oh, you'd invite me?" Oh. Meanwhile, oh. Hmm. No, he actually wasn't. No, he actually wasn't. Wow. Wasn't what it appeared to be. Ooh. This idea of lying and telling the truth. Shut up. Shut up! Shut up! For real. For real. For real. I want to ship Tanuma and Natsume so much together, just so you all are aware. They're so cute. Yes, indeed. Oh my god. This Edie is super cute. I'm not a winter person. I would much rather be in summer than winter. Not that I'd rather be hot than cold, but I like summer so much because you can go out and do things, and winter you're kind of secluded and isolated. But I will say, as pretty and cute as the fireworks are for this ED, I did think the second E was beautiful with the snow. Like, winter art is gorgeous, but the sunset colors, the fireworks, the yukata. Oh, and Toko's has the flowers on it, and his has the ocean waves. And Shigure has the koi fish. Shut up. Shigure can get it. Like, Flora and I were talking about this back in season 2. Like, what a dilf. Aww. That's so cute. Adorable. Adorable. I am absolutely in love with it. 100%. Yeah. So, okay. Oh my gosh, let's go back and talk about this episode. Because it was, don't be fooled by appearances, apparently. Don't be deceived by appearances. Am I right? I thought this was a really good episode. I am all for any adventures with Tanuma, that Tanuma can be brought in, because I like his character a lot. I want to see him and Natsume develop their relationship more. We got a lot in season 2 with Natsume and Notori, so I wanted him to develop his relationship with people who aren't. I feel like Natsume has to start from making friends and connections with the people that can see yokai, because he can relate the most to them. So Notori's like right up there. Then I feel like the next step down is Tanuma, because Tanuma cannot see yokai, but he can sense their presence. He can see their outlines. He can sense their shapes, but he can't full on see them. So I feel like if Natsume can connect with Notori, can connect with Tanuma, then he has, you know, Nishimoto and the other one, and those friends that can't see yokai, then along with the Fujiwaras, he can connect with them. So it's just like, it's kind of just spreading out that web and network of friends. And I think that's important for Natsume, because that's what he struggles with, is connecting with humans. But I really liked this little, something that Natsume does really good is, for this being like just an episodic little series where it's a bunch of short stories every week, they do a good job with the thread of these repeating characters that keep coming back. It makes the world feel very fleshed out. It makes it feel very complete. And so the little fox-like or Shiba Inu yokai that's playing the instrument was in the last episode last week. And then, of course, these two guys, the main ones, they've been there all along. And there's these like little Pikmin yokai, all of this. But of course, Madara comes to get his sake. And I like to call him the pig cat. The white pig cat. Because he's so fat. I love it. And Madara, it's like Madara is less and less threatening. Natsume, I want his spring cloud shirt. The spring cloud shirt with the clouds on it. I want that. I would wear that in a heartbeat. Give me that. I am all about it. His clothing is kind of androgynous, so I really, really like that. But the animation in this episode was super cute at times, especially with Madara, like super sweet. But they talk about how Tanuma's dad, he's not been around. And so a lot of, because they live in a temple and it has that pond and everything that has connections to the yokai, more yokai are going to feel the need that they can go out and get involved in that space. So Natsume describes Tanuma as his dear friend. They were good friends. I ship them so hard. I want Tanuma and Natsume to develop more of a relationship. I honestly kind of ship Notori with Natsume, but Notori is older, so I would only really ship the two of them if Natsume was an adult. He's not an adult yet, so that's kind of like my, I'm okay with an age gap in BL if they're like at least in their late 20s, right? Because if you look like Twittering Birds Never Fly, Daomeki, who's one of the characters, he's like 28 and Yashiro's like 40, which is a big age gap, but by the time you're 28, you've kind of figured yourself out, so it's fine. But here, when you're a teenager, no, you got to be at least in your 20s, preferably mid-20s, before you're going to get into like an older relationship, right? But I really like Tanuma. And Natsume's interesting. Natsume's grown so much over the course of this, but he still is trying to figure out how to communicate about things he's not comfortable with, which is such a relatable feeling. So my best friend and I, we talk a lot about our families, and it's very much like you have to feel a level of trust to talk about your family with people, because everybody's family has messed up elements. If you don't think your family has a messed up element, you might be the messed up element. But every family has like a black sheep. Every family has like an element of drama to it, or an element that doesn't get along with the other parts of it. Every family has a disconnect. It has a part that is dramatic. And there is a level of trust that it takes to talk about that with people, especially non-family members, because you don't want to air out your dirty laundry or private matters or things like that. So I can talk to my best friend about my family and she can talk to me about hers, but we both know we're not going to go gossip to anybody else about that, right? It's personal, it's private. And I feel like Natsume, in a sense, is like, I don't know how to ask Tanuma about his dad, because he's like, what if his dad is hurt? If his dad's sick, he's like, I don't know how appropriate it is for me to ask about it. And it's like, yeah, when you hear the rumors or gossip, like, oh, his dad's dying, it's like, how do you, in an appropriate and kind manner, just come out and say, hey, is your dad okay? And they're like, because it's also one of those things where Tanuma is not addressing it in public and Tanuma doesn't look bothered. So Natsume is like, well, he seems fine. I don't want to go poking and prodding in stuff that's not my business, and then it be a thing. And Madara's, of course, like, I'm a yokai. I don't know how to handle this social situation. And it's like, well, of course you don't, right? So he's like, that's right. He's like, when I was young, I never had any friends to talk about family with, which is this exact same thing. You know, you don't have anybody to base a conversation off of. So how do you go about addressing it? Right? And that's kind of what Natsume is struggling with. He's like, I don't know how to ask him. Also, I kind of like the fact, now that we're seeing how big of a scope of this temple is, like, Tanuma and his dad have a pretty bitchin' layout. Like, they get to have this mansion-like temple all to themselves, which is pretty cool. I like it, out in the middle of the woods. Like, I think that's so neat. It's such a cool set piece. There's so much you can do with this place, and we just kind of tap into it in this episode. Like, that's so neat. But yeah, I like that Tanuma can see the reflections of the yokai, but then that's when he sees, if I saw that giant shadow on the wall, I'd be asking to stay at somebody's house. While my dad wasn't there, I'd be like, okay, time to go. Time to get out of here. Nope, no thank you. The thing about this episode that's so neat is that it plays on the idea of not judging a book by its cover. Because we see the shadow of the big yokai and he seems menacing and evil. And we're like, oh no, we're going to have to worry about this yokai. No, that's not the case at all. What's actually the case is the fact that he's in pain and just trying to get back home. And he's sick and he's spreading the sickness and he's not doing it out of malice. He just doesn't know what to do. And he's been self-harming to try and open the gate back up, but all that self-harm is doing is getting other people around him sick. It's a really cool commentary about how self-harm not only affects you, but the people around you, which is interesting because I felt so bad for the yokai that he was hurting himself just trying to get back home. And that was so sad. But then you see that it's not only affecting the yokai, but Tanuma as well. And it's like, it feels like a really smart, very subtle commentary on how when you do self-harm, you think you're just hurting yourself and it's not a big deal. But it actually not only affects you, but the people around you, especially those that care about you. So I'm like, don't do that. Don't self-harm. And I'm glad that Natsume is like, please stop doing that. So yeah, so then we have the bridge, which was a great fake out. I thought immediately, at first you think that the yokai on the bridge is the one that's at the lake. They're just in a different form. So that you think that at first. And then you get kind of like a bad feeling about it because they instantly disappear after trying to take the Book of Friends and Madara shows up. So that's step one. But then they give a fake story and they lie about using what they know about the one yokai and their own experience and combine it together, which anytime a series gets into unreliable narrators, I'm all about it. Like, I think that's so neat. But they use that fake story to basically try to convince Natsume to give them the Book of Friends, or at least find the name of their brother that turns out to be a lie. So I think that touches on a lot of things. One, the idea that the yokai can and will lie, and Natsume has been pretty naive up until this point. So it's like, now you got to watch yourself. And two, the idea that they're going to try to trick Natsume. Like before, the yokai were just trying to, like, with force, take the Book of Friends, or with force, try to make Natsume do something for them. And Natsume was like, no, why would I do that? But now it's like they're not only trying to use force to get what they want, now they're trying to trick him. And Natsume, who's been questioning whether or not he needs to keep lying or be more genuine, now you're going to add in an element of, well, while you're trying to figure out if you should be more honest, the yokai are being dishonest. So what do we do with that? I like that he just saw her on the bridge and was like, I gotta go to school. I don't got time to fight you. Bye. That part was hilarious. But yeah, he sees Tanuma, and that's when he finds out that Tanuma's dad is helping at the main temple. And Natsume's like, okay, good. Everything's fine. And I like that Natsume he leveled up. He got the courage to speak to Tanuma. I also like how Natsume says, well, oh, you're by yourself, so that must be really hard. And Tanuma's like, no, it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. It's kind of sucks, but it just is what it is. I thought that was interesting because Natsume seems like the type of person that wants to be around other people. He doesn't want to be lonely. He seems like he likes being around other people. He likes camaraderie. He likes companionship. He likes, whether he realizes it or not, he likes having people around. Tanuma seems introverted and perfectly okay with being by himself, which I think is cool that the show gives us these multiple perspectives on loneliness and isolation and how some people are okay with it, some are not. But I also like a lot of the art direction in this episode, like Natsume going home across the grassy, like the little curved path, and you can see the shadow coming off of him. That was really, really neat. So then he sees the yokai and goes to the bottom of the bridge. I also like that the yokai, I thought their eyes were like just closed and slanted, but no, they were like slits. You can see the little like black irises and the pupil inside. Super creepy. So then we have Tanuma, who is like reading his book. We don't see the book, but we see the outline of the yokai, and he keeps trying to chase and figure out what's going on, but he's getting a headache from the miasma. I wondered if Tanuma was going to be able to see the yokai by the end of this, or if the miasma was going to affect him in a certain way. He doesn't talk to Natsume about it, so maybe that's going to end up being something. I love Madara with the two lollipops, the pink lollipop and then the yellow one. He was just sitting there lewd like, I was like, ew, put the damn lollipop in your mouth. Madara, quit teasing us with it. Gross. And so like we saw their miasma again. So yeah, we find out that the one yokai is trying to get the Book of Friends because they want to help themselves. But we also learn that the village of UKIHARA, these yokai escaped from there. And it was basically this world that was off limits to humans. It had a very Spirited Away vibe. And the one yokai and his sister got away from everybody. And then they got separated and weren't able to go back. Meanwhile, the other yokai had been exiled. But the sad thing is that we find out that this one yokai was a totally unreliable narrator and lied about so much of the story. And it's like, okay, the one yokai, he got some bad miasma and got sick and was spreading this sickness around trying to find a gate to go back. But he very well could have left the corpse of his sister in the holy tree, and that was it. And that's where the other yokai got their story from. I was so flabbergasted when we find out that no, his sister died and he's been roaming around all by himself. I was like, oh, that one yokai lied. And I full on believed it. Crazy. And Natsume, why would he have any reason to not believe her? Until she like goes crazy and tries to take the Book of Friends. Luckily, Mizusu shows up to help him. And it's only because there's some yokai stealing all of the fish in the lake and he wants to try to track him down. Also, Madara just shows up and he's like, hey, what's up? What'd I miss? I wanted Mizusu to give him more of a hard time, but instead he blames him for eating all the food, which Madara staunchly denies. I did wonder, as he's playing with the cattail and Madara, I did wonder if there was a chance that this is all in the manga, just like a few panels, and to extend out the dialogue, they had to have him do something. So having him play with Madara seemed like the thing to do. We do get Tanuma having the dream from the yokai. The yokai's invaded his dreams, which is interesting. So he can evade his dreams and project these images, kind of like what he's done with Natsume. I'm like, is he going to activate? Is this experience going to inadvertently activate the ability of Tanuma to see yokai? We don't know. But he's looking for Reiko. And he says, I'm going to take Natsume. And of course, Tanuma freaks out and is like, oh my God, my could-be boyfriend is in trouble. And he's like, oh, why am I having dreams about Natsume? Well, and then he's like, Natsume, what do I do? And then that's when he sees he actually sees the outline of the yokai, which to me is a pretty big deal. But he asks what's on the leaves and then sees that it's rust, which looks like blood, right? But he keeps getting a headache from it. And he sees that the map is missing of the temple. So he's getting a headache from all the bad miasma and everything, which is no good. But what I found interesting about this episode is that I wondered why the yokai didn't attack Tanuma, and I was afraid he was going to get attacked, and then come to find out this yokai is actually really sweet, and he's just trying to find his way back. So he was just like, I'm just trying to find out where this doorway is to get back to my home realm. Not going to mess with you. So Natsume sees the little trail of rust, and he has the temple map, and he's looking around trying to find where the entrance to the shrine could be. Meanwhile, Tanuma is over at the other guy's house and hangs out with him, which is kind of cool. He's like, oh, your dad's gone. He's like, no wonder you felt bad. Like, cool, come hang out with me. I thought that was interesting that he goes and hangs out with him. That usually never happens. And then I wonder if this was like an anime-only scene to just get Nishimoto to tell him that Natsume was worried about him. And that's how he finds out. I wondered if this was an anime-only scene. We'll just have to wait and see when we get to the manga. But of course, Tanuma's like, Natsume was worried about me. And I'm like, yes, you two are practically boyfriends. Or you should be. So then Natsume and them try to find their way into where the shrine entrance is. They come across the yokai that's been put to sleep. I like that Madara's like, just throw him aside. The miasmas made him go to sleep. And that's when they find the design. The design for the yokai with the bells dragging behind him, the rusted bells, and his arms have all the gears and stuff on there. He looked like a Digimon. I'm just saying it. He looked like, in the grand tradition of the yokai from Natsume looking like Digimon, he looked like a Digimon. So, but I really feel bad that he was like about to hurt himself. And Natsume's like, no, I'm not Reiko, but stop stabbing yourself. He's like, I know my blood is hurting the yokai around me, but the entrance to the village is something that needs my blood. And then he's like, no, my sister died. That other yokai wasn't her. He's like, I've been walking around all on my own for so long. And then I like that Madara's like, and then you got your ass kicked by Reiko, right? I like that the yokai's eye like glints. He's like, I lost. And gave her my name. He's like, I wouldn't describe it as an ass kicking, sir. Which is so funny. But he's like, I slept in the mountain until I came out looking for the gate. And the priest has been gone, so here I am. I'd heard a rumor that there was the remains of this building, and that could get me home. And so then we find out the other yokai was just one that was exiled from the same village. It's a small world after all. So Madara basically is like, she was going to use you to get the village door opened. She was the one who ate the weaker yokai. Madara's like, we've got to stop her so I can clear my name. So they go to look for his name, and about that time, right when he gives it to him, he gets a freaking sword in the chest. I'm like, I did not expect Natsume's Book of Friends to get all et tu brute in this week's episode. I did not expect that. And she's like, they basically just banished me for breaking a flower stem. She's like, the blood of a criminal will not open the door, so I'll use his blood instead. And then Madara's like, the gate is opening. And I'm telling y'all, the yokai trapping her in the shackles was pretty cool. But then the gate opening up and this priest coming in and the priest grabbing her. And instead of breaking her, he just turned her into a cherry blossom stem. That was some Twin Peaks messed up. Like, oh, okay. That was some messed up stuff right there. That was crazy. I was like, oh. So he basically just punishes her by turning her into a tree stem. And then they let him come back. And the sad thing is that he's got this hole in his chest, and it starts to like wither him away as the priest welcomes him back into the realm. And they're like, his body is rusted. What a bother. And I can't tell if the body rusting being a bother is from the present or the past. I feel like it's maybe from the past when they like shoot him away because of his miasma. And that's when he runs into Reiko. And he realizes Reiko can see him. And they have the rock, paper, scissors. She's like, oh, your village, so you want to go back. And she's like, well, aren't you going to try to go home? And he's like, well, with my body like this, even if I did return, I won't last long. So I simply wander looking for a new place to waste away. And what's interesting about this moment is Reiko realizes that this yokai who talked about wanting to go home and how beautiful it was, but he doesn't think that it's possible. He's like, well, I can never get home, so I might as well just sit here and rot. And Reiko is like, no. She's like, you're not going to do that. She's like, I want to get away from here and want to go on my own place. And she's like, I'm not going to let you waste your life away without any ambition anymore. So she challenges him so that she can take his name. And she's like, don't you want to have a match with me? And he's like, what? And he kind of blinks at her. And then they play the rock, paper, scissors. I like every time she baps him on the head to say that she beat him, like for rock, paper, scissors. I'm like, really, girl? That was really funny. And he's like, that hurts. And then she says, now you're my servant. Write your name here. And when you find the village door, tell me the entrance to your village and I'll give you your name back. If there's a beautiful world like that, then he's like, will you come with me? And she wasn't going to come with him, but she was like, And that's when he asked Natsume. And Natsume's like, yeah, it sounds cool going into this other world with all these other spirits, but I got my own place back here and it's kind of for me, so go ahead and go. But yeah, the idea that Reiko, she took his name so that he would live on and keep trying, so he wouldn't give up trying to find the entrance. Because he'd all but given up and was just going to rot away. And she's like, no, keep finding the entrance and then you can take me with you. So she gave him motivation to keep living when he didn't have any left. And then he tried to pay back Natsume with it. Natsume's like, oh no, I'm good. He's like, this place is what's important to me, Kanawa. He's like, well, it seems you must have good human friends too. Which goes back to that whole idea of loneliness and companionship. He's like, if you didn't have good friends, you'd probably want to come with me, but that's not the case. So yeah, then Tanuma meets up with him and basically everything's all clear. And we find out the yokai spirit is gone. And Tanuma's like, well, was he dangerous? And Natsume's like, no, he was actually really nice. Just looked scary. And he's like, well, I'm glad. And Tanuma's like, I wasn't sure whether to tell you or not. I didn't want to involve you, but I should have told you earlier. And Natsume's like, Tanuma. And Madara's like, oh, you too. And that's the episode. Oh, so good. So good. That went a lot of directions I was not anticipating. I really, really enjoyed that. So, all right. And anytime we get Tanuma and Natsume remotely having conversation together, I'm all for it. But twists, turns, plot, yokai that aren't what they seem. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I know next week I'm going to be talking about volume 5 of the manga. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'll be looking over volume 5 next week and talking with you about that. And then we'll also be looking at episode 3 of season 3. So we're just going to book right along getting into season 3 of this series. But in the meantime, I'm really excited to hear your comments down below. There's lots to talk about. So I'm hoping to hear your comments and I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back real soon with more of Natsume's Book of Friends.